You see the little shit going. That's a video.
Top of the morning, fight fans. This is Kurt DeVille with Counterpunch Boxing News, and I have some new news concerning Eddie Hearn. Eddie Hearn has warned Deontay Wilder that he's out of the picture if he fails to beat Tyson Fury in their Trilogy fight. And there's no chance he'll take on the winner of Anthony Joshua versus Tyson Fury. Of course, we know that the reports have been shot around, and Deontay reportedly said that he will fight or will allow those guys to fight for a step-aside fee of $10 million. Okay, well, this is what Eddie Hearn has had to say, because since then, we really haven't heard anything from Team Wilder in response to this, and that's what's worrying me. You know, it seems like to me that Wilder is getting the Luis Ortiz syndrome, where you wait a long time to really respond, to let things happen. But anyway, this is what Eddie Hearn had to say. He said, I think Bob Arum said in an interview at the weekend where he said he doesn't know where the number 10 million has come from, Hearn told IFL TV. He said he's said in interviews he won't step aside, and with everything happening in terms of uncertainty over the future of the world, let alone boxing, he's not going to want to step aside, okay? He said we also don't want to enter into a deal where we say, oh, when we beat Tyson Fury, we have to face Deontay Wilder, and he has to get 40%. Deontay Wilder is out. He's done. He's just a voluntary challenger. We want a clean slate when we enter into a deal, whether it's a one-fight deal with Tyson Fury or a two-fight deal. But when AJ beats Tyson Fury, we don't want an obligation to fight Deontay Wilder. What's he got to do with it? He's done. He's beaten. He's just been knocked out. If he beats Tyson Fury, then we want to fight Deontay Wilder. But if he doesn't, he's just back into the rankings. Okay. He's not coming out into a fight with the undisputed champion. So in that respect, it's a lot easier for us to just have a clean slate, and everybody is on the same page that as well. Okay. Let me counterpunch. Okay, you have two sides. You have both sides, and I know you're going to get criticism in either way. Either way you look at what Eddie Hearn has said. Okay. Now, this is assuming that he doesn't take the deal. Okay. If Deontay Wilder doesn't take the step-aside deal with the magic number of $10 million that he supposedly agreed to, and if he didn't, he's not saying that he didn't. If he does that, okay, if he doesn't do that, mind you, it's going to be hard for him to get a fight with Anthony Joshua, okay? Now, if he fights Tyson Fury, now here's the thing. If he fights him and goes on with the Trilogy fight and he loses, it won't be a fight where it will easily be made. He would have to fight Wilder on down the line after Wilder has to fight some of his PBC counterparts, you know, if he loses, right? Because if he loses, he's out, you know. But reading over this, I can see where people can criticize. And let me explain, okay? Now, if he's saying that they don't want an obligation to fight Deontay Wilder, what's he got to do with it? Okay, well, what Eddie's saying is he doesn't want to give Deontay Wilder 40%. Okay, Wilder, and he has to get 40%. Deontay Wilder is out. He's done. Okay? Because he says, oh, when we beat Tyson Fury, we have to face Deontay Wilder. So what Hearn is saying is that Anthony Joshua's stock will rise that much higher if he beats Tyson Fury, if Deontay Wilder steps aside. Okay? So I think the best thing for Deontay Wilder is to take the Trilogy deal and hope he avenges his loss. Because Eddie Hearn is not going to respect anything that Deontay Wilder does. Okay, and I can understand what Eddie's saying to a certain degree, but then I can understand Wilder too. So it's like Wilder's putting himself in a situation where he just wants the winner, which it's a bold deal. Okay, it's a bold deal. And you have to look at the fact that, yes, Deontay Wilder lost his WBC strap, but he has to get it back. He has the opportunity to get it back in the contract, just like AJ did. AJ lost all those belts, and he had to get it back. He had to fight for it, right? So he had that obligation in the contract. He exercised that obligation, and they fought again, and he won those belts back. But I remember a time when AJ was in this same predicament. Okay, now, and it was the same thing that was trying to happen. Wilder, being an undefeated fighter, the WBC champion at the time, wanted to fight Andy Ruiz and get that fight done, and wanted to find a way, and was using Andy Ruiz and had people using Andy Ruiz to be apprehensive to hold up that fight. Okay, so it was that, and then, Eddie Hearn said, hey, you either sign these, you're the fighters, or we're going to take you to court and we're going to sue you, right? And so the same thing is kind of happening here, but it's more or less, not as hectic as it was back then for AJ. AJ had a lot more pressure on him, and so did Andy Ruiz for not fighting AJ in this rematch. And ultimately what happened, he lost. In this fight, in this particular situation, Deontay Wilder it's a lot of things that's not being said. Okay, Tyson Fury has already said, hey, I'm not going to give him a dime. Okay, so we know that's pretty much not the case, right? And Wilder's like, well, fine, I will, supposedly, allegedly, I'll take $10 million if I can have the winner, and you got to put it in a contract. That's a bit too steep, but I think Eddie Hearn's concern is we don't want to give this guy $10 million, then turn around and give him another 40% after Anthony Joshua beats him. You know what I mean? So it goes back to 18, and if you guys want to make an argument over it, it is a situation where you could argue that Deontay Wilder's stock has dropped, because for him sitting on his ass and not doing anything to redeem himself, but gets awarded $10 million on top of the winner, you could say, well, damn, he doesn't deserve 40%. So he gets filthy, he gets rich with $10 million, an amount of money that was more than Anthony Joshua's previous opponent, Andy Ruiz, made in his first fight. Then he gets the fight, the undisputed fight, which he's never been in before in his life. He's only fought for one belt. So I do understand what Eddie's coming from. However, this is going to get criticism, and I'm going to tell you why. Because the first thing somebody's going to do, if you're a Wilder fan, you're going to read this and you're going to say, you know what? Why don't you want Deontay Wilder to fight Anthony Joshua? Oh, to this day, you're still trying to stop that fight from ever possibly happening on paper. You see what I'm saying? So a lot of people might look at it, well, yeah, that's right. He hasn't earned enough. In fact, he lost his WBC belt. Now he gets an easy ride. He gets damn near immunity. He just has to testify in court. But then I look at the bigger picture. The bigger picture is you had a guy that had an obligation to fight, right? To fight for his belt back. But he decided, hey, well, no, if everybody wants this particular fight, because we haven't heard anything from Deontay Wilder, okay? I will allow that fight to happen. I will allow it because I had rights to fight Tyson Fury. Okay? But since everybody in the boxing world wants to see Anthony Joshua, since he got his belts back, fight Tyson Fury, I will let that happen only if I fight the winner. So I will put myself in a tournament style situation to fight both guys. Which, if you're a boxing fan, that's what you would want to see. Because then, if Anthony Joshua, if he can beat Tyson Fury, will then take on Deontay Wilder, a fight we wanted to see anyway. So, in fact, we won't have to see a third fight with Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder. We can see a rejuvenated guy. Hopefully, Deontay Wilder has got his bearings back. He can retrain himself to get better during that time. And he can fight Anthony Joshua, a fight we wanted to see for the longest since 2018 in them, or late 2017. Right? So that is a good fight in a good situation for Anthony Joshua, because Anthony Joshua gets to fight Tyson Fury. Then he turns around and fights Deontay Wilder too. Then the top three fighters will fight each other. That's how you can look at it. But looking at what Hearn said, once again, we're not giving this wanker 40% on top of $10 million. Okay, fine. Well, in that case, we shouldn't hear any more about a step-aside deal then. Because if the step-aside deal was what Deontay wanted, and I know he probably didn't concoct this up himself, and if he did, he's a lot smarter than I thought he was. But more than likely, someone else around him has concocted this deal for him. Okay? It's a smart, clever deal, right? But I think that we shouldn't talk about step-aside deal if those are the terms. The terms can't change. You know, you don't expect a man to step aside and then not get anything in return. You want him to step aside just for $10 million and you take $10 million and ride off in the sunset. Well, wait a minute. I had a contractual agreement. I'm going to just add AJ to it. And again, people are going to look at this article and say, well, what's wrong, Eddie? If you easily beat Tyson Fury, why don't you just fight Deontay Wilder? It's about the money. And it's about the credibility. Okay? So I've even counterpunched what I know people are going to counterpunch with. Right? But in this case, though, he shouldn't accept, or people should stop talking about a step-aside deal if you don't expect Deontay Wilder to fight Anthony Joshua or the winner of Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury. Period. You know, that we should just squash that and let Deontay Wilder fight Tyson Fury again. Now, see, the way Eddie Hearn is wording this, though, he was like, well, if he's over if he loses to Tyson Fury. Well, yeah, pretty much obviously so. But then again, if we look at it like that, it's like, okay, he's just a voluntary challenger. Okay, well, I think you should still fight him if you want people to believe, or you want to win over the majority of those Americans that think that Anthony Joshua was scared or you didn't want him to fight Deontay Wilder. Because a lot of people could read this and I can understand them thinking that way. Because you're like, oh, well, if he loses the last fight, you know, there's no chance he'll take on the winner of Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury. Well, that means you don't want Anthony Joshua to fight Deontay Wilder. See, there's two sides to this. You have to look at this right and fair because, you know, he's saying, well, yeah, he's done. Ha, you ain't going to get the fight. You haven't beat anyone. In theory, you're right. But of all the talks and all the history of Deontay Wilder and Eddie Hearn and Shelley Finkel and Anthony Joshua and all the hatred that we had, I think it's warranted to have that fight, especially if Deontay Wilder decides to let these guys fight for an undisputed fight, so then everybody could fight each other. That's my counterpunch on it. But of course, these guys will see it totally different, right? Because they're totally different sides and totally different people. But anyway, you guys tell me what you think about Eddie Hearn's statements. Of course, please subscribe. And you guys been Counterpunch. Peace.